So welcome to this video. We've been using an A-frame now to tow our VW up since about 2015, so just about 5 years. And we've been using this new Smart Glide with the new twist and lock connectors since they were fitted by tow frame at the beginning of this year, and that was back in January, if you can remember that far back in this year. And what we'll do is I'll leave all the links to the videos I mention and the contacts in the video description below. What I want to do in this video is first of all show you how it attaches, and then give you an update to how we're getting on with this new Smart Glide system. I guess we've done several thousand miles this year using this Smart Glide system towing our car. Can I ask you, if you've got any technical questions or any sales inquiries, to contact Tow Frame? Like I say, in the description below, their details will be there, and they can better answer any sales inquiries, how much and all those sort of questions, and answer any frequently asked questions that you may have. And they're very helpful, and they'll give you an answer there. So I don't want to go into why we tow a car with an A-frame. We've covered that in quite a few videos, but I'll leave a link to a video up here which discusses why we tow with an A-frame. So if you've got any questions of that nature, you can ask them in that video. So what's the Smart Glide been like? Let's have a look first at how we set it up. Yes, it comes in a nice padded bag that you can easily fit in the boot. It's got a bit of foam in there to keep everything clean and safe. These are the twist and lock connectors, and all you do is you push them in and you turn them, and they're locked. And they go into the put the other one on there, and that's the connectors fitted. Here comes the A-frame. Now there is a bit of a technique for setting this up, and I think I've just about got it right. The problem with the setting up here is I've got the curb in the way. I've got the car up on the curb because there's not much room in our road, so you have to park on the curb. But you just fit the pin in, and then you slide it over to the other side, take the pin out there, and this is where the curb comes into play. Normally if you're on level ground it's less of a problem, but it's generally fairly easy to do. Just line it up and then drop the pin in. And because this thing slides about a bit, you can move it about, it's not a problem. You can move it about. The next thing is the wedget. They've called it the tow it wedget, and what that does is allows you to lock the tow bar in a position so you can position the car. Now you are supposed to put this in the top there, and I didn't realise this when I reviewed the video. I put it in the bottom. You shouldn't put it in the bottom, obviously the danger it could fall out, but yeah, it goes in the top. I'm looking now for the breakaway attachment. There's a little plug underneath the front of the car here, and that's the breakaway cable. It's an electronic breakaway cable. It's like a switch basically, and if that gets pulled out, obviously if the frame gets disconnected and that plug gets pulled out, the brakes are automatically applied. So that's the breakaway. It's a bit like a caravan breakaway, except it's electronic. And if you do want to test that the system works, you can actually pull that plug out. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just routing the cable that's stored near the battery, and I'm just routing it through the clips, and I've got a bit of Velcro that attaches it to the A-frame, and then all you do is sort of tuck it around the headlight and you close the bonnet on it. So it doesn't trap the cable, it's just underneath the cable. I've got an attachment to allows me to easily change the number plates, good for a quick getaway. And that's the Motorhome's number plate now attached to the back of the car. What you can't see me doing, and I completely missed filming this, was I'm attaching a little frame, a little board to the back window of the car. Now I've just started the car and I can manoeuvre the car about now, so if you're on a campsite you can easily manoeuvre the car into position. You can get it reasonably close to the motorhome. You don't have to be too close. Now, as long as the Smart Glide is in a semi-retracted position, you can get within a couple of inches. I think I actually got within about 2 inches here. I didn't realise how close I was, but it's not that important about how close you get or how accurate you are, because you can slide the frame about, and that's the great beauty of this. I'm just taking the cap off the tow bar, then you take it out, the wedge it's just fallen out, like I said I shouldn't have put it underneath, and then you clip it on. Now, looking at this, there's a hitch lock on here. I don't know if you can see that. I actually got a hitch lock, so if you leave the motorhome and the car attached in a car park, you can lock the hitch so people can't tow the car away. Obviously they could steal the car anyway if they could break into it, but they can't tow it away. So there is a hitch lock if you're worried about parking in a car park. I've attached the breakaway cable there. That's just on a little hook at on the tow frame. In the car now, what I have to do is you switch the ignition on, switch it off, make sure the steering wheel moves about. So what you've done is you've freed the steering lock. Obviously the handbrake needs to be off and it needs to be in neutral. Close the door, and then what you do is you switch the Duo box on, and that's the device that works out how to brake the car, proportionally braking the car. Lock the car manually so no one can jump into your car whilst you're towing it, and these are the little catches that come up. And now what happens is that when you move the car or you move the motorhome, those catches should lock into place. I've just driven the motorhome a little way forward, and what happens is that the catch is locked. Now what's happened here is one catch is locked, that one, it pops up when it's locked, but the other one hadn't, and I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail. Now here we are just checking the lights. Jenny's giving me the thumbs up for checking the lights. I'm going to check the brakes, the lights themselves and the indicators, just make sure everything works. And we always do that before we go away. You never know, you might not have put the plug in properly. Now there's the catch, and once the catches have locked, you can then put a safety pin in, an additional safety pin, and it's like a double protection that the A-frame is locked and it's not going to slide about at all. So like a double check. Difficult to hold the camera and film it and put it in at the same time, but just like a double check before we set off. Now everything's locked in place, got the breakaway cable on there, and that's basically setting it up. So what are the downsides? Well, there's only one really I can think of, and that is the locking mechanism and clip. The Smart Glide doesn't always lock into place. It's got two locks, as I showed you, and they don't always lock if you're not on level ground. So what I found I had to do was I had to drive a little way before, obviously, either coming off unlevel ground. But what I found is if I drive to just before the gate on a campsite, it's normally locked in place. So if you drive I don't know, a few yards, normally it locks in place. And it's a useful sort of double check now, because what I then have to do is I then have to get out of the van, go round and fit the clips in place before we set off. Now that's the drawback. Before we had this, we had the fixed system and you didn't have to do that. There was no sort of slide and lock thing. But to be honest, I think it's good because it makes you go around and you make sure that you've got all the connectors in place. You've got the breakaway cable attached and you've put your sign on the back, you know, I didn't mention this, but you put this sign in the window, in the back window, and you can just check everything's in place before you set off onto the motorway or wherever. So what are the upsides to the system? It's so much easier to attach this A-frame than the old fixed system. I can do it as a one-person job and it takes me 5 to 10 minutes depending what's going on around, but that's much easier because Jenny doesn't have to be there to help me line it up. It was quite a struggle sometimes to actually get it perfectly lined up before you could attach the towing hitch onto the motorhome. With this I can drive, and as long as I'm reasonably, you know, within a few feet, you can slide it about and you can attach it quite easy. So like I say, it makes it a one-man job, and that's always better for marriage harmony, I guess. The unit itself feels very well made. I think the old unit was subject to a bit of corrosion. If you've got a bit of salt on there, you've got a bit of corrosion, but so far, and I've been using it in the winter, it's been pretty good. I don't know how well you're going to see this, but it's powder coated, and it still looks pretty good. I think I've just sort of scratched the side of the stick-on thing there, the yellow stick-on safety thing, but I've scratched that probably with one of the tow hitches. But yeah, it's a pretty solid, well-made system. I'll turn it upside down. There's the tow hitch lock. So it's got an Alco hitch lock, and it's not the easiest thing to film either. And there's their number on there if you're interested. Let's put that down. These are the twist and lock connectors. If you can see that bit goes in there, you turn it and it locks that way, and it's got like a square bit there, and that locks it in place. You put it in, twist it, and it's locked. And these are solidly made as well. Here's the bag it comes with. It's got a pocket where you can put your number plate in there. Pocket for the number plate. Got another pocket here with a bit of Velcro, and it's got all your bits and bobs in there. A dummy tow hitch. This is the wedget. It is a piece of machined aluminium block, and it basically, you drop it in and it wedges the tow frame in place, and it's got like a clip, so you can clip that round one of the clips, so it would just sort of dangle and won't fall off. Often forget to do that, if I'm perfectly honest, but it's a good idea. These are the D-clips, and these are better than the previous ones we had. They're machined in one sort of bit of wire really, and I've had no problems with these. The other ones were subject, they had a little clip around this, and that was subject to coming off. These have been really good, these clips. And finally, the breakaway cable. It's not a cable in the strict sense of the word, but it's a bit of twisty wire. It doesn't have to be particularly strong, because all it's doing is, if the tow hitch comes undone, this just pulls a plug out on the front of the car, and once that plug's out, the brakes are on, and that you can prove that works, and you can prove the system works by pulling that plug out. So we're very pleased with the system. It's been good. It's saved a lot of trouble, and it makes hitching up the car a lot easier, and it's been no problem. Towing the car has been the same as it was with the previous system. I won't say you don't know it's there. You do know it's there when you're going uphill. You have to be aware of the car being behind you, particularly when you're going around tight bends and that sort of thing. You need to keep an eye on the mirrors, but towing it's relatively easy. You are a long outfit with the car on the back. We've had one or two issues, as some of you will know, going round narrow lanes, and particularly when we went to water-close meadows, which is Houghton Mill. The gate there is quite tight. The big benefit, I think, of having the car on the back is, if you do get into a pickle and you think, oh, you've got to reverse, you can at least unhitch it, and with the wedge it, you can wedge the A-frame in place, and you can drive the car out of the way. and you can get it to safety if there is any issues with it. But like I say, I don't really want to discuss the ins and outs of towing with an A-frame. So overall, I'm very pleased with the Smart Glide system. It's well made, it feels very robust. It's made it a lot easier to hitch the car up. I can do that on my own, 5 to 10 minutes, and that makes it so much easier. You don't need 2 people to do it. So if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, remember to subscribe and hit that notifications icon, and you'll get updates when I release another video.
Turn right onto Mill Street. 29 minutes of delay were added to your route.
Oh good.
Oh good.
Oh
Excellent.
good.
That's what we want.
Good to know.
I'm going to stop to do that.
Yeah. Now the only thing about the A-frame is I've got to put a locking pin in before I set off, so I'm just going to stop and do that.
Got anyone up your chuff or anything?
No one up my chuff.